Hello everyone, and thank you for watching Otaku Talk. I'm your host, OD. If this is your first time here or you're a reoccurring viewer, please take a second to like, share, and subscribe this video. Smash that bell. I would really appreciate it. Helps me with that YouTube algorithm, helps me get out there, and just helps me build my community. So I would really appreciate that. Anyway, today we are going to be reviewing chapter 195 of Dr. Stone, and I am just super excited to get into this one because it was heart-wrenching, it was emotional. I really truly enjoyed this chapter, and so you know what? Without much further ado, let's get right into it. So, I really loved this chapter. Like I said before, super emotional, super heart-wrenching, and like it did more for me this chapter than the previous chapter. I just felt like the previous chapter was kind of a lot of nothing. I know it was necessary to set things up and to like get us a bearing on the events that happened after the petrification, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I did find it quite lacking. It was basically Suiko waking up, being privy to her situation, and getting her bearings. It was kind of like a reboot of chapter 1 or 2 of Dr. Stone with Senku, except obviously not as good because, you know, she's not the main character. She's not Senku. She's not as smart. But, you know, we still root for her all the same. She's still a main character in this. She's still a character that many of us quite hopefully enjoy. So, but it just did not do what this chapter did. So let me just get into what this chapter did. First of all, I loved how the first thing she decided to do was gather up all her all the statues, all the petrified statues of the squad, right? She realizes that with or without revival fluid, she needs them all in one place. She needs them all together, because even with revival fluid, if she can't put them together, they're not going to be able to revive. So that was really smart of her gathering them together. I thought it was super adorable, and it just like hurt my heart to watch as she was having like imaginary conversations with all the statues. I thought it was super adorable, and I thought it was realistic. Like all your homies are more or less dead. You can bring them back, but they're more or less dead, and you're pretty much the only existence in the planet that you know of currently. So it gave me little like Castaway vibes, Survivor vibes. If you've ever seen a movie where someone is like shipwrecked or by himself, you do see like this kind of personality. And I'll be the first to admit that like I definitely would be talking to myself, talking to the statues. I talk to myself now. So I didn't really see a problem with what she was doing. I thought it was adorable. I thought it was endearing. So yeah, that was cool. I love the part coming up where she is trying to grab Jinro and breaks his arm. I died laughing because I kind of fell into the whole imaginary conversation thing too. And so I can just see, I love that it was Jinro because I could just see, I kind of just had like an imaginary moment where Jinro's just freaking out like, my arm! You broke my arm, Suika! What am I going to do without my arm? So I truly found that to be really funny and entertaining, despite the fact that like he actually didn't speak and it was handled rather well. Suika instantly, she's handling the situation really well. Like I've always seen Suika as really young, not that smart, kind of dumb, not super dumb, but like she's never really shown anything tremendously like intellectual. She's never been like super dumb, but I've always just, really not, I don't want to say cared about her character. I cared about her character, but, as a mascot, right? Not as a contributing member to the crew, except for like when they need someone small and quick to roll places, right? So, leaving the fate of like the entire Stone world on her hands is definitely something that I wasn't expecting, but I'm okay seeing. So she looks around to see if she can find any adhesive. She checks Senku. All she could find off Senku was a paper, which I knew immediately was important. I was just concerned that anything on the paper would be written, and if it was written, I don't think she knows how to read. So I was super concerned about, okay, next step, how is she going to read whatever's on that paper? Luckily, something happens. We'll get to that towards the end of the review. So she's able to find the glue. She's able to put Jiro back together. Bada bing, bada boom, like patchwork. And so the only people she can't find are, I always forget these two's names, so we're gonna substitute them with Big Booty Judy and the let's call her a geologist, not a geologist, but the girl that just basically has the the cartog. We'll call her a cartographer for now, right? I know she's not a cartographer, but the reason she's part of the crew right now is because she has knowledge of various land masses and where the natural resources on these land masses are, or which land masses to go to get said natural resources. So Suika decides to go look for them. She knows that they're probably on the opposite side of them, which, by the way, that whole scene made me really enjoy the fact that this plan was multifaceted. They decided not to have just one revival team. They decided to have two, which clearly worked in their favor. And so as Suika's looking for them, she finds the broken glass of revival fluid that Big Booty Judy threw terribly. I forget if it was both a combination of her throwing it terribly and Stanley shooting it, or just her throwing it terribly. I think she just threw it terribly. I think Stanley just said screw it. But then I feel like there was a panel where he shot the glass. My apologies. I should have reread it. But all that matters is they weren't able to revive themselves, and as well as not being able to revive themselves, they wasted revival fluid. I kind of like how Suika takes a glass half full kind of approach to it, and she's like, you know what, that's fine, because if you didn't throw this glass in the first place, I may never have found you. You guys have to remember they're on an island, and despite islands not being like huge, massive bodies of land, they're still large enough, and there's probably still enough woodland area and like cliffs and all that stuff to make the journey finding them difficult. So I really did like her approach to all of that. So something else super cool she did. There's a panel where she's like, man, if only I had a motorcycle, I could move their bodies a lot easier. And I was like, oh no, is she about to do a roadmap? Is she about to pull a Senku and make a motorcycle? And something I've had to constantly do with this series is temper my expectations, because they'll say something like a motorcycle, a car, a plane, and then they'll make like these really downgraded models of it, which honestly isn't even that bad. It's impressive nonetheless that they're able to kind of get what they're aiming at, but like they do always show like this super awesome version, and then like you see like the omega beta version of it, and you're like, I mean, I guess. And she ended up making she went to, I guess, where they buried their rubber wheels from their earlier construction. I forget whether it was a car they made. I remember there was a time period where they're making like zip lines, and like they made a motorcycle earlier. So I guess they kept around some of the parts what's it called, underground. It looked like it was in a square hole underground. Looked like it had been covered in like wood planks to keep itself disguised. So that was really good. So she makes a wheelbarrow out of that, and she's able to move people. I forget if that was just in the early part of the chapter or later, but I just thought that was really impressive that she was able to make a wheelbarrow. I think it shows her tenacity, her innovation. She's been around Senku enough, and she's learned enough that, hey, I can take care of myself, and I can also build things. I have an understanding of like mechanics and stuff like that. So that's really cool. On her journey to go look for the two others of the revival team, another thing she did that really impressed me was the fact that like she built a fishing net, immediately caught a bunch of fish, and then I don't know why particularly she used the tire for this. Also, I feel like tires are heavy, so I'm mad impressed by her ability to not only use the tire as like a carrying pouch or backpack for her fish, but the combined weight of the wheel and the fish and her small frame carrying it, obviously, once again, anime suspension of disbelief, and people are stronger than your average human. But all that's put together, I really do think Suika, someone on Reddit or something is going to give Suika a respect thread after this. Because something you can't sleep on that you do have to remember is Suika's a member of the Stone World. She's not from the past like the rest of the main characters. She grew up on a village with minimal technology, so and you can't forget that she was blind the whole time. She didn't get to see until Senku made her glasses. So she's been fending for herself for a really long time. So I'm really glad to see this kind of character development and just character focus on her. So yeah, let's see, what else did I want to talk about? Oh, so the final parts of the chapter, really great ending of the chapter. She finds a map on the girl from the revival team, and basically it shows where certain fruits are. And the moment I saw that, I was like, okay, perfect. I'm glad that Senku has proved why he's the main character and why he's like smart enough to be able to bring civilization back to the forefront and back to where we left off. And basically, I was like, okay, bet she can use the fruits to create ethanol, because you wine, alcohol, all that stuff. So you can use fruits to make that. How she's gonna get the bat guano, I'm not sure at all, but we're gonna get to that. So she's able to get that map. She checks the paper from Senku. To my relief, super happy to see it's not written. It looks like more of a instruction manual with drawings on how to recreate the revival fluid. I'm really hoping that the tools necessary to create it are already there, because I'm already seeing like Bunsen burners and like glass test tubes almost, and beakers and all that stuff. And in my head, I'm like, okay, where is Suika supposed to find all this stuff? But earlier, she was able to find the rubber and all the other materials she needed. So I'm really assuming or hoping that they have some other materials tucked away, possibly in the same place she got the materials for the motorcycle. We don't know, but it's good to see that all is not lost, that there is a chance for success here, and Suga has to do it. And as someone who is actually a bio major and has done chemistry, one of the cool lessons we learned in school was the fact that chemistry and science and doing stuff in lab is essentially no different than baking. When you're baking something, baking is not more or less like cooking. It's very specific. You need exact measurements, but anyone can follow the measurements, and as long as they do exactly what the instructions say, they should come out with the same, or albeit comparable, products. And that's the cool thing about science. You don't necessarily have to be, yes, you do have to be a genius to come up with the formula and the recipe in the first place and to understand why the formula and the recipe work at all. But in order to replicate the formula of the recipe, you don't have to be a genius to make a baking soda volcano. Like, everyone knows that you pour baking soda and what is it, vinegar or something, and you get an explosion. Like, you may not know how the reaction works or whatever, but you do know the end product of the combination of both. And so I'm hoping that as long as Suika is able to get the materials that she needs, that the rest is going to be easy. I'm hoping that along with the instructions to make the revival fluid, there's instructions on how to produce ethanol from fruits, and then maybe an alternative method of getting the bat guano, or a different form of the nitric acid is the end result. I forget what the previous original matter they need that like they got from the bat guano. But like I said, I'm just really happy to see that there's a chance here. It looks like everyone on the island will be revived. It's just going to take some time. I see that happening probably in maybe 2 chapters. Next chapter is probably going to be her getting all the materials, finding out the fruit, learning how to make alcohol out of it, and then after that, we'll have her test the revival fluid. Obviously, the first person she needs to use it on is Senku. Clearly, once Senku is back up and running, everything is going to just run super swiftly. Um, and yeah, that's about it. I'm very curious to see who managed to live after the petrification. Personally, I really, really, really do think that the spear user was the only person to die. I really want Kohaku to come back and Tsukasa to come back. A lot of people are saying Tsukasa's dead. Kohaku definitely, I believe, is alive. Definitely, I believe is alive. Tsukasa, it's very in the air. And then, why did I forget his name? The spear user. I'm pretty sure he's gone. I'm pretty sure he's gone. He was a really cool character. I really hate when the fighters go, because as sad as it is, you do need a military force in any kind of civilization you're in. Um, you need to talk quiet and carry a big shtick. Like that's just how it works. Like that's just how it works. There's no reason for other people in a society to treat or respect you if they know for a fact you can't defend yourself. It's easier to negotiate and compromise from a position of power than it is from one where you have zero power. Anyway, that has been my review and analysis of chapter 195. Like I said, for those of you who want progress in the story, I know this feels kind of like a detour, like a setback. Like, come on, like we a lot of things were happening. It's kind of the opposite of what like series like My Hero Academia is doing. Series like Demon Slayer did before it ended, where like it got really ramped up towards the end. This series is like we ramped up and then we're like slowed down again. So I that's really interesting. I'm okay with that. I truly think this series has the potential to be a great adventure series. Like I think I'm a big fan of adventure series. I like Dragon Ball better than Dragon Ball Z. I love One Piece, and those are adventure series. I don't think this is going to be an adventure series that is exactly like the ones I mentioned earlier, but an adventure series nonetheless. And I think it has a lot of potential. I think it's taking its time, and the story building is phenomenal. So, yeah, I can't wait to see what happens next chapter. If you liked and enjoyed this review, please, once again, like, share, and subscribe. It's just a simple click for you, but means the entire world to me. And yeah, take care. Let me know your thoughts on the chapter. Let me know if you think Suiko will be successful. Let me know if you think that if there's any other survivors in the world. Once again, let me know what you why you think the world was petrified in the first place, who Y-Man is, if you think he's an alien, if you think he's on the moon, do you think he's still around? Do you think it's just a sound recording? Yeah, any and all thoughts. Anyway, this is OD signing out. Take care.